opens up the box and plays the game. He never reads instructions cause they're lame. He's Bowser. He plays the game so badly. His eyes are twitching madly. He's here again so sadly. He's Bowser.
Hello there, welcome back. Thank you ever so much for clicking in to watch. As you can see, I've kind of altered things slightly on this one. It's going to be another C64 Spectrum comparison video, but this time I've decided not to tell you what it is and leave it as kind of like a surprise, which, you know, I hope you enjoy it that way. If you think this kind of lucky dip approach is works, then let me know. If, however, like the Rambo video that I did previously, you would much prefer to know what the game is before you watch the video, then yeah, let me know as well. And whatever works best is what we'll do. I'm incredibly grateful for feedback, etc. The feedback on the Rambo one was really good. I was very worried about the length of that video. It ran to 25 minutes, but people didn't seem to mind that. So I felt a lot less pressurised to keep an eye on time on this one. Now I'm aware I've got a not rabbit on, etc. But there are some things I want to do. I want to also announce that there's going to be another competition, because the last one for the t-shirt was quite fun. But I'm not going to announce what the competition is in this video, because I need something from you in order to announce the competition. That's going to take place in the next video. I'm going to tell you what exactly it is. The prize will be Spectrum related, but the competition will not be Spectrum related. As ever, unless you live somewhere incredibly far away, I'll cover the postage of whatever it is. Now, let's cut the crap, because there's been a lot of it. You want to know what game is being played. So it is the 1986 version of The Great Escape, which was released by Ocean, created by Denton Designs. Spectrum version, Commodore 64 version. The Spectrum version comes to me courtesy of David Birdsall. Thank you, David. Excellent guy. The Commodore version comes to me courtesy of Mark Payne. Thank you, thank you, David. Thank you, Mark. Excellent guy. I'm going to put them both side by side. Now, in the Rambo video, the Spectrum version of Rambo went first, so I'm going to switch things around this time, and you'll see the Commodore 64 version of Great Escape first, and then the Spectrum, and then I'll come up with some conclusions at the end, and then that will be it. Okay, right, as ever, please, any suggestions that might jump into your head, other than don't rabbit so much, please let me know. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back. Let's just turn the volume up a bit, start a new game. As can be seen, or as I said at the start, this is the Commodore 64 version of The Great Escape, and this week it gets its go first. On the other video for Rambo, the Spectrum version went first in the comparison video. Just going to go through them, see how they both play, what the differences and similarities are between the two, and then at the end just come up with some conclusions. Now just let me know if you agree or disagree. Now I have to say, Great Escape is not a game I'm overly familiar with. I do know of it, of course. It was released in 1986 by Denton Designs, well, sorry, produced by Denton Designs, and released by Ocean, and it's classed as one of the most classic Spectrum games, one of the most fondly remembered ones, but I'm not particularly sure how well the C64 version fared, whether or not it reviewed well or not. Now, bearing in mind we're on a Commodore 64, The only sound appears to be that fucking annoying bell. So the aim of the game is to basically escape from the prison camp by collecting a number of items without raising the suspicion of guards, etc. Making sure you don't miss things like roll call, which I'm just about to do. Now I have had to watch a couple of videos just to find out what to do in this thing, because like I said, it's a game I hardly ever played, only ever in passing, and oh, I'm just about to get nabbed here, aren't I? Oh, you fucker. Right, let's start that game again. Right, okay, because I'll have lost that key. Now, yeah, the aim is not to get caught being naughty and to assemble all the bits of your escape kit without getting caught and getting the items discovered by the guards. Now, like I said, for a Commodore 64 game, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of music. I mean, there was that fantastic loading music that you heard on the loading segment as it played in, but it seems bereft of any kind of sound effects other than the bells and odd sort of spot effects when you pick an item up, such as just there. Other than that, it seems quite, like I say, bereft. And although the graphical style is really, really, really nice, isometric viewpoint, as you can obviously tell, it does have a kind of jerky slowness to it, which kind of makes you sometimes push the joystick, you know, a little bit harder than you normally would, as if that would make the game run a bit quicker. The graphics are good, you know, don't get me wrong, I do think it's a really, really nice game, but it, like I say, it's got a very pedestrian sort of pace about it. Right, how do I use these things? I've forgotten how to use them. Oh, that's it, yeah. Oh, don't be a silly sausage. Right, but there, in this bit here, he sort of speeds up quite a bit. Now, I've got an escape kit there. Now, the goal is to try and get those things hidden before I get discovered or that I'm missing from something else. And come on, very jerky, very slow. Yeah, and like I said, if the guards will sort of follow patterns, etc. If you're missing from something, they'll come and look for you. You've got a morale meter there. Now, the game seems to be just stuck in that little sort of tiny window, with not an awful lot sort of going on around it. Right, so I'm in the thing here, so if I drop... Oh! No, I don't want to go backwards there. Right, also I've got to put that back so that it doesn't get discovered. Ah! So, right, yeah, I've missed roll call, I'm a naughty boy. Now that bell gets fucking annoying. Like I said, that's one of the... So the two things I've noticed about the Commodore 64 version of... what's this game? Great Escape, are that it's just played in this sort of like little tiny window. Oh, sorry, don't want to wake you up, mate. Where's breakfast? What have we got? I hope it's a bit of poached egg and cheese on toast. I like a bit of poached egg and cheese on toast. Or a bacon and Marmite sandwich. I wonder if they ever did those in POW camps. I love bacon and Marmite sandwiches. Yeah, I know it sounds really, really strange, but then I'm really, really odd. So there's a question for you, just a fun one. What's your favourite breakfast sin? What do you like to get away with? Do you go for a full Fat Boys? How many slices of black pudding do you have? Do you have hash browns, or do you have bubble and squeak? And beans or tomatoes? I couldn't think of a question to ask there, so I came out with that old rubbish. Right, so I'm very, very unfamiliar with this game, as you can probably tell. I'm trying to sort of figure out where it is I've got to go before all the sausages are gone. Is this the breakfast hut? I think this might be the breakfast hut. It's very, very, very slow. Come on. Oh no, this ain't it, is it? Where's the bleeding breakfast? Where'd you go for breakfast? There's never a Mackie D's where you can get a McMuffin from, is there? Especially not in a prisoner of war camp. Like I say, it's a game that sort of totally passed me by. If you played the Commodore 64 version before, what were your impressions of it? Did you like it? Did you loathe it? How does it compare to the Spectrum version? Obviously, I'm going to be doing my conclusion of both games side by side, but I'm, as ever, always interested in what you have to say about this. Now, no, totally forgotten. Train of thought's gone. Is that the breakfast hut? No, that's one of the bed places, isn't it? That's one of the what do they call it? Dorms. Or is it? Let's go and have a look. I'll go and have a look in there. If that's not breakfast, then I'm going to go back to bed, and then we'll start on the specky version. I mean, it's not unenjoyable. Don't get me wrong. It's but it, like I say, it has got this kind of pedestrian pace. Now, I had a lot of no, I've ballsed this up, haven't I? I had a lot of isometric games back in the day without ever sort of mastering any of them. But I'm not aware of if the genre was popular or not on the Commodore 64. So I would like your opinion, please, on isometric games to track down on the C64, especially ones that I can do a lot comparisons of the Spectrum versions alongside, because that's literally what it's all about. This is basically me just wandering around the prison camp, as you can tell. Now, if you just leave the guy alone, how does he do it? He'll just go off and sort of do his own thing. So that's a good sort of way. Well, he won't do it now. I've asked him to do it. Oh, never mind. Right, so that's Great Escape on the Commodore 64. Not a totally bad game, but not one that's highly impressive, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's certainly playable, but like I said, really sort of jerky movement, etc. Right, finishing this, gonna unhook the C64, put it away, and then get the Spectrum out. Okay, take care, see you in a bit. Hello, welcome back. Right, now we're on to the Spectrum version of the Great Escape. We're at the menu system, as you can see, and there's this kind of medley of wartime sort of hits, if you like, if that's what you want to call them, playing. Now, one of the things I'm able to do on this, of course, the Commodore 64 version can only, I believe, play just with keys. Let me just get the tape out of the machine, and so I can put that away. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select keyboard. Come on. Right, so O-P-Q-A-M. Yes, we'll have that. Right, okay, so you can see from the off, it looks very similar. But one of the very first things that is evident of the Spectrum version of Great Escape is, A, that bell noise is not so annoying, but look how much faster it seems to be running. Now, I'm not overly familiar with isometric games on the Commodore 64, but is it something that the genre struggled with? Were there, you know, was it a massively popular, the isometric games, were they massively popular on the 64 as opposed to the Spectrum, or were they ones that just you know, weren't quite as abundant as they were on that platform as they seem to be on the Specky? So already, yeah, you can see it's looking a lot smoother, a lot faster. The noises aren't as annoying. Ah, right, that's that picked up. And it's a lot easier to control. And also, although the game takes place in a sort of window, if you will, just as the C64 version did, you'll see that morale, instead of being listed as just a sort of block, a sort of countdown sort of block in the corner, in the bottom left-hand corner, as it was on the C64 version, I've got this flag to the left of me, which, right, let's just drop those. Come back out. Oh, fuck, arseholes. Which, yeah, and there's those medal things at the bottom as well, which obviously denote your score or something. I don't know exactly what. I should really have read the instructions. But as the intro song says, hey ho, what do you know? Never mind. Right, yeah, so I'm surprised. It's a lot smoother, a lot less jerky. The sound is a lot less irritating, a lot sort of cleaner on the... Is that something I can pick up there? Yeah, I don't know what that is though. A lot less irritating on the old eardrums, unlike my droning. And the game makes a lot more use of what screen there is to play with. So although the window size seems to be exactly the same size, if you like, they are both... yeah, you know, the Commodore 64 version is bereft of anything around the screen, whereas the Spectrum's got some things to look at, if you know what I mean. Now, I don't know what that is that I've picked up there. I've got to be somewhere now, have I? Right, so again, like if I just leave the guy, as I have there, he'll just go off and sort of play on his own, which is a good way of finding your way around the camp, actually. I don't know where or not he's supposed to be, but yeah, you know, I've said before, The Great Escape was a game that sort of passed me by back in the day. I had a few of the isometric games, but not many of them. I found them overly sort of tough and difficult. Now, what I can say about both versions of these games is they are really sort of atmospheric, and the differences between them are mainly cosmetic. As I've said about the decoration either side of the screen and sort of down below, etc. But also, you know, sort of performance issues. I'd have thought on one version there'd be a lot more sort of music, etc., but there isn't. But hey ho. So that was just a very, very quick comparison. I've tried to show you sort of both parts of the game, etc. Right, now I'm going to leave this running. At the start, I talked about there being another competition. The previous competition was quite well received. It was fun. It was a laugh. So why not have another one? Now, the prize is going to be Spectrum related, but the quiz is not. Now, first thing the competition is not going to be Spectrum related. It's going to be something completely different. So what I'm going to need, obviously because I don't want to be accused of winning my own competitions, is I want someone who's going to be prepared to put themselves up to be a judge for the said competition in it, so that when I do the video that it appears in, once all the comments etc start and the entries start coming in, I'd like an independent adjudicator, and the prize is going to be 5 random games from my ZX Spectrum collection. Word of warning, I've got no sort of hugely rare games etc. You know, I've just got basically loads and loads of run-of-the-mill stuff that I've just hoovered up in my enthusiasm. It's not an excuse for me to get rid of 5 copies of Scrabble or Renegade 3 or Make a Chip or anything like that. It's just a bit of fun. If you want to be the judge of that, then please let me know. It's a bit sneaky of me putting it all the way this far into the video, isn't it? I know. But hey-ho, never mind. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care of yourselves and goodbye. I hope, well, not goodbye just yet. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. If you are going to subscribe, please take the time to join in the discussions. Now, I had a lot of good feedback on the Rambo video that I did, and hopefully I've addressed some of the issues that I received, such as when I was playing the first version of the game, the Spectrum version, I was actually talking about the Commodore 64 version as if I was assuming that people knew what it looked like. So hopefully with The Great Escape, I've tried to avoid that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those brief sort of gameplay segments of the Commodore 64 version first, and then the ZX Spectrum version of The Great Escape. Hopefully I did enough to show you the differences and the similarities between the two. And here is a bit where I just sort of tell you what my conclusions of them are. Now, starting with the Commodore 64 version. It starts really, really well with the loading music, which is really, really great to sort of listen to. It makes me envious every time I hear a really good Commodore 64 loading song, that we didn't have anything like that on the Spectrum. The actual picture itself that accompanies it is a bit ropey, but the sound is great. The Spectrum loading screen, yeah, that's workable. It's a bit basic, just some sort of text and some barbed wire, basically. It does what it needs to, but you know, I really enjoyed the music on the Commodore 64 version. Now, the Spectrum version, when it loads up, belts out a load of beeper renditions of like wartime classics, like It's a Long Way to Tipperary and stuff like that, which I thought was really nice. And again, you know, showing how newbie I am at this, I forgot to make any kind of note as to whether or not there was any menu music on the Commodore 64 version, or whether or not it just went in and started playing the game itself. Now, they're both graphically, the style is more or less identical. They're both played in the same kind of area of the playing window, etc. But what you will notice between the two is how jerky the gameplay movement and how slow the gameplay movement on the Commodore 64 version was, as opposed to how sort of swiftly its Spectrum counterpart ran. I was really impressed with the. In fact, it was refreshing playing the Spectrum version, having sort of like got a bit frustrated with the jerkiness and the slowness of the Commodore version. I don't think it absolutely kills the game, but you know, it does add a lot of frustration to it, I found. But the graphics are very evocative on both of them. You know, really nice style. You can definitely tell that it's trying to represent what it is, like a prisoner of war camp. Really nicely detailed graphics, etc. Sound wise, both games, there's not a lot in there at all. The bell noise on the Commodore 64 version is really annoying, especially when it doesn't go off. It is hugely irritating. So of the two, you know, you can tell I'm leaning towards the fact that I think that the Spectrum version is the better version of the game. Although it's played in a fairly small playing window as well, they do a lot to fill the gaps in the sort of screen real estate that are left over. There's the morale flag going down the left-hand side of the screen. There's the medal counter and stuff on the bottom right-hand side that fills those blank spaces up. Now on the Commodore version, the morale is just a little sort of meter, a little counter in the bottom left, and I don't think you see the badges in there. I didn't get far enough in it either. So yeah, hope you're going to enjoy entering the competition. Like I say, I need a judge. So if any of you want to put yourself forwards to be a judge for the competition when it's announced, because you're going to choose who wins it, then please let me know. It's just a way of trying to get you all sort of involved in things, other than me just sort of like rabbiting at you all the time. If you like the video, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. But if you do subscribe, please take the time to join in with the discussions. I'm particularly interested in feedback and ideas that might work for further sort of videos, etc. I'm always open to the idea of changing things if it's for the better, not just to changing things for the sake of changing them, but just to make things better. Thank you. Goodbye.